Hi there. Today I would like to talk about the 4 major clair abilities. Typically when you hear somebody talk about having psychic abilities, they're normally referencing one of these 4 abilities. There are more than 4 clair abilities, but there are 4 main ones, which are clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, and claircognizance. I have had bouts of clairvoyance, but that's not my primary forte. The other 3 I am familiar with. And I think it's really important to cover this right now because if you know you have, or if you suspect you have any kind of a psychic ability and you're on the path of truth, it's really important to hone in to what abilities you were blessed with. And we all have intuition, and attempting to hone our psychic abilities, I have found, naturally kind of connects one with their inner self, and just making that conscious effort to do a process of attempting to learn a new skill like that can have a beneficial impact on, you know, one's ability to discern their own inner voice, and that's really important. And for me personally, you know, when I started down this path, and I started learning various protections and different intentions, you know, just setting different intentions is a huge protection. And you know, because I'm clairaudient, I hear a lot of voices. And sometimes they get bad. I mean, and it's not like schizophrenic, like voices like that. I mean, like literally, you just like we walk in there and you'll hear somebody say something. But about 2 years ago, I started setting the intention that I do not want any communication with any kind of, I do not consent to any communication with any kind of malevolent energies or entities, whatever. I only will consent to communication with benevolent energies with the highest and greatest good for humanity as their intent. That's it. Nothing else. And I don't even like doing that. And a lot of times if I'm doing a divination reading or something like that, I specify only to my higher selves, whoever I have been. But since doing that, since having that intention set, the amount of, I would say, you know, clairaudient interference, malevolent messages, things that, you know, were trying to lead you astray, or, you know, that negative voice in your head that, you know, tells you that you are, that you aren't worthy, or you're worthless, or you're ugly, or you're this, or you're that. I mean, that is actually a program, a negative attachment or something that you can get rid of. And for me, you know, setting several different intentions and doing some other protections has really, really benefited me. And it was attempting to learn about these abilities and hone them that started me on that process. So I want to share the 4 major clair abilities here. So when you do a search for psychic abilities online, you know, there are some abilities that tend to show up more frequently than others. And clairvoyance is the first one that we're going to discuss today. Now, like I said, I don't really have that, so I'm not going to get as in depth with that. It means clear seeing or psychic seeing. And you may have had it, and now you may have experienced it in some way in your life. Many of us have, and you may not have recognized it for what it was. And I have. I've had visions, but it's just not that's not my regular way to get information. The seeing that takes place typically is not dramatic. Clairvoyance is often subtle, and the visions and images are usually in your mind or in your third eye. Signs of clairvoyance are mental images that randomly flash before your eyes. You find it easy to visualize or imagine things in your mind. You see flashes of colors, numbers, symbols, or images. You see visions as a movie playing in your head. Now, clairaudience is the second clair ability we'll discuss. Now, that means clear hearing. Clairaudience is the capability of receiving intuitive vocal messages from spirits, higher beings, and other unseen energies. Clairaudience can extend their hearing to transcend the everyday physical world and known level of awareness in order to reach the world beyond. Clairaudience are highly intuitive people who are able to listen to a voice other than their own when the spirit world transmits a message to them. The message might include particular words, names, or phrases. It might be just a singular word. There could be unintelligible sounds. It could be music. The voice sometimes sounds extremely different from a voice you normally hear. Sometimes it sounds like your own voice. It may sound as if it's being spoken right next to you, inside your head, or echoing from far away, as if from another dimension or something. The voice could also sound like one of your loved ones who has passed away. And it typically will make itself heard in times of crisis and emergency, when you're at a crossroads, or any significant time in your life. Clairaudient dreams are also a known phenomenon, and that's where a person may hear the voice of a spirit during the sleep. Now, in my sleep, I can actually see them, but not in daytime, yes. Sometimes it isn't a foreign voice, but it sounds like your own. Okay. Okay. Many people are born to clairaudience. The voice appears one day, or it's always been with them. And the individual may accept it, get used to it, and decide to acknowledge it, or decide to deny the ability. Clairaudience can also be an acquired skill. As with other abilities, like playing an instrument, practice makes perfect. You can decide to hone this skill. An example would be, like getting to know a partner in a relationship. At first, you have no idea what does different behaviors mean, but little by little, the little signs and symbols start having a special meaning that's true only for that person. And it's a secret. It's like a secret language that only you know. And you do, over time, realize, that when that particular voice spits a word at you, write that word down. Because it will end up being important later. When you start listening to your internal voice, you start to understand it, and you tap into its clairaudient meaning. So signs of clairaudience are, you talk to yourself, and I'm constantly talking to myself. This could be having conversations in your head with an inner voice. Without realizing it, you could be receiving guidance. I find that I do it because if I hear my thoughts, it makes it easier to differentiate the fact that those are my thoughts. Helps organize. Ringing in your ears. Oh. Now, it can signify a medical condition, and some people argue that it is benevolent. But in my experience, it is mainly a malevolent energy. It does happen all the time, especially if you were discussing something that, say, the archons don't want you to. Okay. I've not received it as a warning. I feel it's an attack. It's a type of psychic attack. I mean, I was speaking to a girl the other day about some sensitive information, and I felt like my left eardrum was about to explode. The ringing was so loud. Okay. Another sign is you hear someone call out to you when no one around you did. This could be from hearing voices from another dimension. The words may not always be clear, but they could become clearer. You give advice to others. When people keep turning to you for advice because you help them feel understood, and they think that you give excellent advice. And you could be channeling the wisdom of higher beings. And I just get advice for people out of nowhere. That's more claircognizance, though. Inspiration comes naturally to you. When doing mundane tasks and inspiration hits, the quiet is the perfect time for spirits to communicate with you and provide helpful advice. You hear messages. Mine, when I'm lying down to go to sleep, that's when I get a lot. You hear messages which seem to be just for you. Oh, this happens through the radio. This could be through the radio. Well, wonderful. Or any spoken words. Your focused hearing may be picking up on messages your spirit guides are communicating with you. I don't know about spirit guides. I don't know about spirit guides. Let's say higher selves, benevolent energies. I don't know that I like the idea of spirit guides. Now, we may have them. They may come. That might be how we're tracked through this system, these spirit guides. Because it's obvious that those of us that are awake, most of us have been targeted all of our lives. And if 68% of the people really are AI, you can guarantee you're surrounded by some, especially if you really are human. We're all being handled. It's terrible. Okay. Last one. You had an imaginary friend as a child. Children often have stronger spiritual connections than adults. Imaginary friends can be spirits communicating with you rather than something your mind conjured up. Clairsentience, that's the third ability we'll discuss, and that means clear feeling. It is the ability to feel the present, past, or future physical and emotional states of others, without the use of the normal five senses. People who are clairsentient may also be able to retrieve information from houses, public buildings, outside areas, physical objects that is invisible for our physical senses. That is why clairsentience is often associated with what's referred to as the sixth sense or the sense of intuition. People who experience clairsentience are affected by a myriad of different influences, but it all comes down to being sensitive to changes in energy. Clairsentients not only feel other people's emotions and take this into their body, but they can also receive insights around these emotions. They also may sense when someone is behind them or watching them, and some clairsentients can even feel when somebody is potentially in danger or when experiencing pain. Signs of clairsentience, 12 signs. You sense energy in a room. You have difficulty dealing with being in big crowds. You have strong gut feelings about people. You are super sensitive to your environment. Emotional movies make you cry. You can pick up on spirits' feelings. People think you're too sensitive. You physically feel other people's pain. Your mood changes quickly and unexpectedly. You find it difficult to watch the news. You can tell when someone had a bad day, and you can notice temperature variations. Claircognizance, and clairsentience is very much like being an empath. I'm not convinced that they're entirely one and the same, but they might be. I don't know. There's not a whole lot of difference that I can notably find. Claircognizance is the fourth and final clair ability we will discuss today. Claircognizance is one of the four major psychic abilities, and it means clear knowing. And I would say that this is the one that is most predominant for me. But it's the one that's most difficult to explain to people because I don't know where the information comes from either. I just know it. It allows you to know something is real or will be, though you have no logical explanation to back up this idea. Claircognizants just have an inner knowing or gut feeling that they can't dismiss even if they try. And that's true. They just know specific things through their own psychic feelings, which are directly manifested as thoughts. Well, which can be directly manifested as thoughts. For example, you may know that you shouldn't take your normal route to work without turning on the news and then comes to find out there's a major pileup. Or that your daughter shouldn't sleep over at a new friend's house and then you find out that the parents aren't going to be home. People with the psychic ability of claircognizance just know certain things without logic or reasoning. Claircognizance is when information and facts seem to be downloaded into the individual's awareness or perception. Downloaded from the air, from another dimension, from the universal consciousness, I don't know. Often, all of the above. Often this takes the form of a strong sense of knowing or an inspired idea. Claircognizant messages often come like a light bulb illuminating suddenly within your head and can be gone in a flash. And that's very true, and you need to be sure to write them down because if I don't write something like that down, it might be 6 months before it comes back to me, if it ever does at all. And these messages appear at very, very random times when you're working, watching TV, running, or otherwise doing something completely unrelated to what the message is about. Those with claircognizance may describe the inner knowing as obvious to them as if someone presented an undisputable case, an out-of-the-blue message. Look, I can't explain it, I just know. Because claircognizance can also present as a gut feeling, it is important to distinguish between it and clairsentience, which is an inner feeling, and clearer feeling. Basically, those with clairsentience feel things and therefore know them to be true, but those with claircognizant, they know things to be true without logic, reason, or without the feeling. For example, your sister-in-law may get a scary diagnosis from the doctor, but you just know that she's going to be okay. 3 ways you can receive claircognizant messages. 1 is gut feelings. Those with claircognizance may describe their inner knowing as a gut feeling. In part, this could be because it's really tough to explain why you know something without logical reason. But a gut feeling is something most people can grasp. But also, it's actually the fact that claircognizant messages really do feel like a gut feeling that comes through straight from your gut or your solar plexus. And they really do. Like the messages that come from here. I mean, yeah. Out of the blue. Most claircognizant messages seem out of the blue. They may just pop into your head. Things like check on the dog outside. I'm surprised my best friend isn't pregnant yet, and then you find out 3 days later she is. That happened with me and my therapist just a few months ago. Don't let Susie stay the night at her new friend's house. Throw that leftover meatloaf out, or, turn on this channel on TV, and then you find your favorite movies on. There's things like that. Claircognizant impressions come while you're doing something totally unrelated and interrupt your thought pattern. So if you're brushing your teeth and the thought about your boy BFF getting pregnant suddenly pops into your head, that's claircognizance. I remember this one time I was taking my dog out to the forest, and I was all of a sudden it pops in my head, boy, it'd be really bad to break down right here. And so then a state trooper passed me, and it was going out to Canal State Forest, and there's like no cell phone service out there or nothing. And I was like, well, if I break down, there goes my only help. And so then, like a mile down the road, I break down. And come to find out, though, there were all kinds of state troopers out there because an old man had been missing and they had just found him. And so then they were leaving. And so one of them actually did stop and give me and the dog a ride home. So it was crazy. Oh, I mean, I've got tons of those times, but that one pops in my head. That one popped in my head just now. Okay, in your sleep. Some people with claircognizance describe being woken out of a sleep with an oh my god solution to a problem, or right when you're lying down to go to sleep. You can get a lot of good answers then. Whether the problem was a schedule conflict or world peace, claircognizant people get a deep sense of inner knowing that solves problems in insightful ways. They don't always know how they know, but holy cow, the message is loud and clear, and that's true. And just a fun fact, other psychic abilities increase during sleep as well. When we sleep, our logical brain takes a vacation and we're able to get in touch with our intuitive nature. And when we're not constantly questioning why we know that little Jake will develop a peanut allergy, we're able to receive more or clearer messages. And that's true. I mean, if we can that's why meditation is so important, because it is a practice of learning to quiet the mind. People think that they're doing meditation wrong because they can't fully quiet their mind. Well, I mean, it's really hard to quiet the mind. That's why it's a good practice to, over time, there is no right or wrong way to meditate, but it's something that everyone should do. I also feel that sleep, I feel that only so many avatars can be awake at once, in the realm, like it's an artificial reality, and only so many of us can be awake at once, so they have to, so many of us have to sleep while others are awake. But we're interdimensional beings, and being inside this meat suit would absolutely drive us all crazy if we couldn't still leave this dimension sometimes, and I feel that's what we do when we sleep. Now, are we confined to the artificial reality? Maybe. But can we actually get outside the, say, matrix in our dreams? I don't know. Not that I'm aware of. But we are traveling somewhere in our dreams. I'm certain of that. Okay. So where does psychic claircognizance come from? Let's be honest, it may not sound like a load of fun to receive intuitive messages that you can't explain to anyone. And it's honestly not a lot of the time. It's probably not great for your social life when you yell stop to someone who's about to eat a sushi roll that you know is bad. But they'll thank you for it later, or maybe they won't. And sometimes I've learned to just let people, I warn them. I do my due diligence, and I warn them. I tell them, this, if you do this, that's going to happen. But, I can't change someone's mind, and so I'm not going to pester you over and over and over again. Now, if it were something really serious I thought were going to happen to you, I'd probably make a really concerted effort. But you can't control others. So all you have to do, you relieve yourself of liability once you warn them, they can take it and do with what you want. You tried. Okay, once you're far enough along in your psychic development, you'll begin to get a sense of who's sending you a message and why, possibly. You may not. I don't most of the time know who is sending me a message. All I know is that it needs to be a benevolent energy with the highest and greatest good of humanity in mind. And then the meanings often come in time. It's just important to write the stuff down, and then, just trust that your claircognizance or any of your abilities are being used for the highest good. You know, set the attention that you want to use your abilities for the highest and greatest good. Now, some other tattletale signs that you're claircognizant are: you always know when someone is lying or being insincere. You wake up with insightful answers to difficult problems. You get messages out of the blue. And if you receive intuitive messages in other ways, there's a high chance that it's also claircognizance. So, if any of these gifts sound as if it's something that you may experience, it would be a good idea to hone them. You know, at the end of the day, when half the stuff that you see is a lie and half the stuff is true, and you know, and so you might, so for example, discernment is just really difficult because, you know, okay, like you might have a piece of information that's 80% true and 20% is false. Now, in some instances, that 20% will invalidate that entire 80%, okay? It depends on the content, it depends on, you know. But then in other instances, the 80% may be able to stand on its own, and the 20% is just, you know, it's just wrong, but it doesn't affect the 80%. Like, it's still accurate. But that's hard to discern, you know. And at the end of the day, all we really have is our gut feeling and our intuition to tell us right from wrong. And that's why if you sit on information and you ponder things, and if you tap into that inner voice, you will get the right answer eventually, but it can take some time. So there's no right or wrong way. Just follow your instincts. That's what we have to learn to do. And we got to learn to turn off some of these mental programs too. Mental programs kick on quick, and you really want to establish. I've got some videos on establishing the mind-heart connection, which is to put feeling into things, and then you want to work on things like meditation, protecting yourself from psychic attack, and we want to give ourselves the best chance. Have a great day.